Welcome to our Learning and Productivity channel. If you are struggling to learn and understand difficult concepts, we'll show you 5 major study techniques that you can use, which will greatly help your understanding of these um, complex, no, complex concepts. The first one is concept mapping. It's a visual tool to help you organize the main ideas and breaking down the subparts of that idea. So the first step is to you have a piece of paper and put in the main topics at the top of the paper in a box, and then you kind of break it down as you understand each component of it in separate boxes. For example, you want to figure out or understand the functions of DNA and how it works. So of course you're going to write down the functions of DNA on the top box that you wanted to learn. And then as you know that there are 3 different functions like store genetic information, to drive protein synthesis, and enable heredity. So these are like 3 major functions. So you have 3 different boxes for that, kind of connecting that to the main box, like the top box. And then you go even farther, like you can go like how are these doing that? So how is it doing um, you know genetic materials, using the genetic materials to enable heredity or synthesize protein. So you keep going and breaking it down and connecting these boxes, and it will visualize your knowledge of that concept. It will also force you to kind of organize it, go back and understand it deeper. So this is a pretty good tool for you to understand complex concept. And there are mind mapping softwares, tools there available and commercially that you can use and help you in this process. All right, so now the next one is called use of analogy. And we kind of all know about that when then we do it in our head. Sometimes we're trying to look at a concept that are very difficult. So let's give an example. For example, you're trying to learn about DNA structure. Then you compare that to a twisted ladder, because you know about ladder. So you kind of have a twisted ladder, and then you think, well, the sides of the ladder are the phosphate sugar and phosphate backbones, and the rungs of the ladder represent base pairs. Now you kind of you can even go further, elaborate and label this, and sometimes you need multiple analogies to grasp the difficult concept, and it will greatly improve your understanding, and it also helps to retain your understanding of that concept, because now you can think of, when you think of DNA structure, you go back and think of the ladder, the twisted ladder. All right, now the next concept is the elaborate interrogation, which is why and how question, which is basically a number of why and how questions. So like you can say why the fact or the concept is true, why does the fact make sense, why does the concept work the way it does. And so this is and you can go ask some how question, how it works. So let's look at a like a real example, like how this work, and I'm going to give you an example. For example, like you want to understand, like you're studying photosynthesis. So first question you might ask, like, why do plants need sunlight for photosynthesis? And then you find out that it gives energy, sunlight gives energy to the plant to convert carbon dioxide and water into glucose and oxygen. Then you explore further, like what is the actual mechanism. And so this is kind of like how and why question to make you understand the concept in a very deep way. And this is good for, so you're doing test prep, this will help you in that respect. All right, then now let's look at the other technique. It's called Feynman techniques. This was created by the Nobel Prize winning physicist Richard Feynman, and this technique helps in deep understanding of a complex concept. And it kind of uses 4 steps. So first, of course, you have to choose a concept and you try to explain the concept in simple terms to a child or to a young person, for example, a fifth grader. And then you kind of trying to explain the concept, and then you start struggling at some points in that. So and now you know that there is a knowledge gap that you have. So now you go back to the material, kind of refine your understanding of that knowledge gap, and then you come back, to say to the same 5-year-old, or not 5-year-old, fifth grader, and then you start explaining in more simple terms. And if that fifth grader understands it, you ask him, whether him or her, ask him whether it makes sense. And then, if it doesn't, then you know that you need more understanding. So the basic idea is that if you understand a concept thoroughly, then you will be able to explain it in simple language, in simple terms, to a fifth grader or a 10-year-old. So that's the whole purpose of this concept, the technique. So the last one is called learning using first principle thinking, or this is a technique that Elon Musk uses, and he has used to build the rockets, which is like he's famous for that. So you first break down the concept into its fundamental units, and then understand those units and their relationship with each other, and then develop a very deeper and more flexible understanding of this. And this enhances your ability to solve problems, think critically, innovate across different disciplines. For example, how do we convert complex solid foods into energy for us? So now you can say, all right, there's a mechanical breakdown of the food, solid food, you're chewing it. And then there's a chemical destruction or decomposition of it using, say, enzymes or saliva in our mouth. And then or the food goes into systemic absorption in your gut. And of course, you can break down those even farther and understand this concept. So this is a great tool to breaking down a complex concept into its first principle thinking. All right, so I described all these techniques. I'm trying to make it simple. Um, and please subscribe if you like this video and the way I explained it. And please leave comments like how I can improve this, and also what other techniques you want me to cover as I'm building, or as we are building this YouTube channel. So thank you for listening and understanding this concept, and I really appreciate your comments, and your if you subscribe, it'd be very helpful for me. Thank you.